All right, all right. Welcome everyone to our Thursday morning production call. My name is Joe Martinez, and we got special guest Mr. Elijah Carujo and Mr. James Martinez, and we're going to go over some fun stuff today. Um, the topic we've come up with is 9 steps to running a perfect appointment, or at least as good as you can run it, and make sure you're helping as many families as possible. A few things I like to go over. One, this is an hour-long call. I want to make sure it benefits you. Last thing I want you to do is sit on this call for an entire hour and not get a value. So I highly, highly recommend you're taking notes. Even though we're running it, we're the ones taking notes as well, because we work together. Elijah, James, and I are always calling each other, prepping for appointments still to this day. Because there's just a value of why do it by yourself when you can do it with a team. So we ask that you take notes, go apply it to your business, right? You're going to learn a lot of stuff. Again, it is an hour long. We're going to go over a lot of things. Do not go and try to revamp your entire appointment. Just grab a couple of things that, hey, you know what? I think I can get better at this. And then just go apply it to your appointment. James always says it best, get 1 to 3 things and then just start applying it to your business. Don't try to go revamp your entire thing. And then if it helps you help a family, what we humbly ask is you do post it on Band, like, hey, I got this nugget and I started applying it and I got a yes, right? Or I was able to help a family because of it. Posting it on Band, we do this as a huge community in the cook hierarchy, so it does help absolutely everybody. And when they see that you post it on there, they get to go and apply it to their business. So that's what we ask. So we'll get started. Again, today's topic is the 9 steps to running a really good appointment. The really cool part is we got a bunch of new agents and seasoned agents. Why this brings a lot of value to both is because, one, if you are a brand new agent, this is a really good way of, hey, look, am I doing these 9 things to make sure I'm set up properly so that I can go out and help a family? And then the really cool part is if you're building a team, a lot of your agents, I tell you all this from 6 years of experience, I forget sometimes that our agents don't know things, right? And I assume like, hey, you're not doing it. Elijah, I can't tell you how many times, right? Arrogantly, I'm saying like, well, what do you mean you're not doing this, right? And I want to make sure, right, that on both sides, right, as a builder and as a new agent, these are great things to ask your upline or ask your downline, like, hey, are you doing this part of the script or the setup to help, again, right, both sides of that. So we'll get started. We'll go through each one and kind of give you all our nuggets. We got 3 different views of it, right? They're all still pretty similar. We're following the same thing. We just have we've tied in our own, just kind of made it our own. But again, it's still following the script. So the first one is booking a Zoom appointment. Okay, so step 1 is booking a Zoom appointment.
Hey, Joe, for the people wondering, why Zoom versus phone? Break that down. What's the logic behind that?
So I go to James on this one. James, give us the stats on this.
Where you at, James? I see you're right
All
beneath
right.
me, so.
When I was doing phone appointments, my close ratio was about a 30 to 40% average, right?
Me too.
When I just changed to just Zoom appointments, that brought me up, not changing anything I was doing currently. I went up to a 70% close rate
Right.
just by going to Zoom.
So
As I
we're
got
talking
better,
more than double,
more than double.
which
And then
equates to
and then as I got better just at running appointments, I'm right now currently about a 80 to 90% close rate.
Come on.
Right. So
that.
what does that mean, right? Like, because I'm all about stats and numbers and how I can help more families, right? I gotta make an income off of this. And it's very simple when I look at those numbers. Do I get to help more families doing the exact same thing and I make more income and I help more families? And all you have to do is book Zoom appointments. That's a huge step, doubles your results. Okay. And then Elijah, you said somebody asked you a question, right? Right, show rate. It also increases your show rate booking a Zoom appointment because there's a lot more commitment. It is so easy to not show up for a phone call.
Very.
Right.
People are doing stuff, driving, like they're in the middle of something. When they're on Zoom, they're present. They're at home.
Yeah, and in fact, I was booking a couple of appointments earlier in the week, Elijah, and I get to the end part of it, right? I'm like, hey, so in the email that I'm sending you, it's going to have a Zoom link on there. They literally stopped me and said, oh, wait, this is going to be on Zoom. I'm like, yeah. So I need to make sure, right, you and your spouse are home, right? So you can, oh, okay. So then we need to change the appointment, Joe, because 3 o'clock, I'm still at work.
You just saved yourself a no-show doing that one thing, brother.
Right. And that's the important and power of a Zoom appointment. And then I love to dig into the background, right?
Okay.
Because one of the biggest things, right, that one of the three things somebody buys from you, right? The first one is trust, right? And I don't know if y'all ran a phone appointment. I have, and it's like, hey, I don't know if this is a scam, Joe. Right? You want to be less scammy, right? You need to run a Zoom appointment. And then for me, the power of a Zoom appointment is let your Zoom do the heavy lifting on the rapport building and the
Yeah, that's
trust.
good.
What do I
That's
mean by
good.
that is have a background, okay? I know some of y'all have fake backgrounds. I promise you, right? It's not that I don't like them. They look super cool, but there is nothing like a real background. There's a couple things, right, that I have heard clients say, right, over the years. One is if you do the fake background, if you move too much, and most of us, when we're running appointments, right, we're using our hands and talking. I don't know if you realize, but you're disappearing into your background, right? And it looks kind of weird, right? Like why can't you show me you're in an office? Why can't you show me where you are? Right? It builds trust. I promise you, let Zoom do the heavy lifting. And then the really cool part is on rapport. Like I always love to talk about David's, right? Because he has like sport memorabilia in the back, right? And it builds so much rapport to be able to say, hey, yeah, I love basketball, right? Hey, I love this. James, right? When you're in your office, right, you have the hunting stuff, and right, like how many apps have you written because you have a hunting thing on your background?
A lot.
Right. And I love to use, right, they see my kids, right, and they see my family, and I so many times in the Zoom appointment, I'm literally grabbing the picture of my kids and showing them like, yep, I got 4 kids, right? We love to do this and we do that, and let Zoom do the heavy lifting. And it's super easy. I think a lot of times we don't do it just because we sometimes feel it's a little too much work, but it's not. You don't need an office, you just need a wall,
Yeah.
right? And you only need like a 5-foot wall. You don't need a lot. All you need to do is make sure, right, your Zoom is facing the back of or towards a wall. And it's simple, right? Your business, this is my insurance license, right? I think I got where I'm backwards here. I got these from, I want to say like the dollar store, right? They had 3 different letters. Literally this cost me $3 and it's SFG, right? There's little things like that, pictures of your kids, your animals. I remember I used to talk to someone that had like a little toy uh, from Star Wars, and he goes, "Do you know how much this little toy has made me over the years? Because everyone saw that little Star Wars toy, and they would always start talking about it, right? Like it lets them know you're a real person, and it builds so much rapport being able to do stuff like that. So highly suggest when you're running a Zoom, you don't do the blurred background, right? Just simply turn your desk, right? Everyone's like, oh, I can't because I have it. Fine, make it happen. I'm telling you, right? Like this is the difference between making 70,000 in a year or making over 120,000. And sometimes we're just stubborn, like, no, I can't figure. Yes, you can put it against a wall, put up your business or your insurance license, right? Figure it out. People want to see who you really are, and they love being able to do things. And then I think a lot of times too, we're a little afraid that we're in an office.
Hi,
Sorry, in
was
a
calling
home.
for Joshua Snyder. My
Oh,
name is
hold on.
David Gomer.
There we go.
Oh, he's
And
gonna love this.
we get scared that we're running an appointment in a home and that our kids are going to run into it, our pets are going to run into it. And let me tell you, they build so much rapport too. Like sometimes my kids are here in the office because we've picked them up from school and I'm running an appointment and my 5-year-old runs up here and he's like, what are you doing? And they absolutely love it.
Yeah.
Right? Remember, guess what? They know we're in a virtual world. They know we have kids, and for them, it's like, oh, that's like my grandbaby, right? Or hey, it's like my son. If you have pets, right? They absolutely. I think what's his name, Elijah? Jesse,
Maverick.
right? That dude, he's an elite producer with Symmetry, and let me tell you,
You're talking about Jesse Backrack, right? With
yeah,
his dog Moose.
his dog is like in every single appointment with him.
Yep.
right? Like he allows that to build him rapport, like leverage what we have. We're real humans. We're just connecting with them. And Zoom has a lot of power, right? Before, we used to have a lot of power actually showing up in person, and Zoom allows us to do that. And listen to this fun fact, Elijah. Zoom allows us to bring our home to their home.
Big time.
Right? Like that was something we couldn't even do in person, right? We just showed up ourselves.
Yeah.
Zoom allows your home to show up to their home and connect in ways that we couldn't before, right? And I think we look at it the opposite too many times where we're scared, right? But allow that kind of stuff to happen and then work on your background, right? Again, it takes a few bucks, literally a few bucks. You already have everything you need in your home, I promise you, right? You just need to put it in your background so that they can see it, they can see you're a real person, and they will absolutely love it, and it'll help you build rapport.
A quick thing I'll add to that, if you're doing Zoom, I can't stress enough, have a good mic, have a good camera. You don't want to look like you're in a dungeon. You could have the most beautiful office ever, but if it's dark or your camera's blurry, it's not going to do any good. So,
yeah, that's a good point. And a fun fact, so if you're on Zoom and you go to the little camera on the bottom left and you hit the little arrow, you're going to see video settings. So I want y'all all to go to video settings. When you go to video settings, there's a right in the middle, you're going to see touch up my appearance. Okay. This will help all your background, or this will show everything to look a lot clearer. And then there's one that says adjust for low light. And on that one, you can make your room brighter. So if you click on that one, right, if you're in a dark space,
that's cool.
if you click on adjust low light, you can increase the brightness in your room.
Well, that just helped me right now because look, I'm in low lighting. Check it out.
Oh, yeah, look
Check
at
it out.
James. Look at James. Do that
that's
again.
crazy.
Look, I was right here. The lighting sucks here.
Look,
So
make it brighter.
boom.
Okay, that's a fun fact for y'all. So y'all can make it brighter, and then do the touch-up appearance. Don't go all the way because then it looks like a weird filter. But I would say about halfway or 3/4 is really good. It makes everything look clearer, right? If anything's fuzzy, it does clear it up for you. And then the brightness, right? If you're in a dark place, just turn that puppy all the way up and it makes it super bright. And then again, when you're looking at your Zoom lighting, if there's any light behind you, it actually makes you look darker, right? So what you want to do is your light needs to be behind your camera facing you so that you can be in a bright space, right? Or it needs to come from direct above, right? Like, so I'm in an office, but my lighting's above, so it just keeps me really bright. But I still have it turned up about halfway on brightness because it's still not bright enough. That's why I always look like I'm in, right? Like my room is lit up. It's not that lit up, right? I just have that adjustment. So always look at that. And then be careful with windows. If windows are behind you, it does make it, again, look a lot darker because of the light that's coming in from behind you. So that's why the wall is the best scenario, and then having lights facing you is going to give you the best zoom. And then dress, right? We don't, it's not like we're in suits or and ties, right? I run appointments.
I wear this to appointments, bro.
Right?
I'll wear a snapback hat because I mean, I'll wear a blank t-shirt, flannel, because half the people that hop on Zoom, Joe, what are they wearing?
Same thing, right? And it just helps you build rapport with them.
Yeah. It's rapport. I think Zoom is professional. You don't have to do as much convincing to build trust. It's just going to be easier.
Yeah.
Is anybody scared to run Zoom appointments? I heard somebody, or I might have saw it in like the Symmetry agents page, like they were just anxious about running Zoom appointments. Does anybody feel that way at all? Like to where you're more inclined to do phone appointments because it's less. If not, we're in a good group then, because you shouldn't be, right? Would you treat anybody different, Joe or James, like running an appointment over Zoom versus in the home, or like how we used to do? It's the same process, right?
Yep. For me,
Let's break it down.
it's the again rapport, and then the last thing I want to add again is tying it down, right? Like you increase your show rate by a Zoom appointment just because some of the way you have to lock it down, right? If you're booking a phone appointment, it's just like, hey, I'll call you tomorrow at 3 o'clock. right? Versus when you're booking a Zoom appointment, when we used to run them in person, we used to get to say some really cool things like, hey, we called it painting the picture that we were going to show up to their house, right?
Mhm.
We would say, hey, what color is your house? You know, is your address on the driveway or on the house, right? Or is it on your mailbox? And what that did for the client is like, oh crap, right? Like somebody's coming to my house. It started making them think like there's something real about to happen, right? Not just call me tomorrow. And
Yeah.
that created a lot of power and preparation for them to show up. And the Zoom appointment, if you use it correctly, you're doing the same thing, right? Because I get to say stuff like, hey, Elijah, have you ever done Zoom before? And they're
Yep.
going to say yes or no. Great. In the email, I'm just going to need you to click on there, and then I'll be able to see you and you'll be able to see me, and we'll be able to share. I'll be able to share my screen, and we'll be able to go over the coverage. Now they're thinking like, okay, they're going to have to see my background. They're doing the same thing, right? Like when they're setting up their laptop, they're like, oh wait, I don't want them to see the dirty dishes, right? So they're actually moving it around. So they're preparing for you more, right? It creates a better appointment for them to do that. And then one of the next things is you're actually again painting the picture. So I got this from Jordan, right? Because I'll ask like, hey, how are you going to hop on Zoom? Are you going to do it through your laptop or through your phone?
That's a
Right, or
really good thing to
tablet?
ask.
And
Really good thing.
because, so write this down, if they do it through their phone
They have to
or
download.
tablet, they have to download the app,
Mhm.
right?
So
So I
that's
get to
walking
say,
people through the process of doing that too, right?
yeah. So I do this when I lock it down, right? I'm like, hey, are you going to hop on Zoom through a tablet, iPhone, or your phone, or through your computer or desktop? And they're like, oh, we're probably going to have to do it through my phone. Great. You're going to have to download the app. You don't have to create an account. Just download it. Once you download it, you'll be able to go back to the link that I send you. Just click on it and you'll be able to see me. If you're doing it through your laptop, you don't have to do anything. All you have to do is click on the link and you'll be able to see me. And now they're like, oh, okay. Dude, when Jordan told me that, I started seeing this happen about an hour before our appointment when my reminders go out, Elijah. They would jump into my rooms already.
Yep. That's the best email to get. Your client has joined.
Right? So they're actually preparing an hour before the appointment. These folks are now preparing. They're downloading the app and they're jumping into the rooms to make sure they show up. I can't tell you how much power is in that. And then locking it down. If you're on a dialer, it should have emails and text reminders that go out. We're on Ninja Dialer, which is Funnel, same thing. And it sends out an email with the Zoom link. It sends out a confirmation right when you book it. It sends an hour before the appointment. It sends a text message and an email reminding them with the link. I still, with my cell phone, aside from everything that goes out, I still personally send a text message appointment reminder. Hey, this is Joe Martinez. Paul, we're going to see you today at 3:00. And if you need anything, my phone number is blah, 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 blah. Send a C to confirm. And then I get little C's back, right? Because they just send a C back saying they're going to show up. Nothing better than that. That's what I do. Elijah, I don't know if you do anything different.
To lock it down. No, I like leveraging technology, man. I use Switchboard, which does the same thing. Like when
Yep.
you book an appointment in Switchboard, it puts it in your calendar. Client gets an automated text. It's just an extra thing you can do in addition to like locking it down on the phone and confirming. Somebody messaged earlier. I think it was Jennifer. There was just three quick things I wanted to hit on because I know we're going to get into the appointment, but like to lock it down, like if you're going through the script. You've already painted the picture. You're doing a Zoom appointment. We've nailed down the time. One thing, Joe, you mentioned is making sure them and the spouse are going to be there is huge. Like booking a Zoom appointment is awesome. Getting both decision makers there is even better. I can almost guarantee, like when I hop on a Zoom appointment, both spouses are there. We're taking an application. Like I got to really screw something up to not if they went through all those steps. You know what I mean? So make sure they're both there. I also, one thing I have them do, in addition to the text reminders, is I have them write it down too. I'll say, hey, you got something you can write with? Here's my name, mortgage protection, the time we set, and I'll say also make sure you have your driver's license and name and number of your doctor because it makes it just even that much more serious. And when the automated appointment text goes out, I will also text them a copy of my digital contact card, which has a copy of my license on it. Those are all good things that I would suggest. Bump up the show rate.
I get why we dug in for about 20 minutes on that? Because they need to show up.
Let's
They
get into
gotta
this.
show
Yeah.
up. We can't run an appointment if they don't show up. So making sure you're knocking all that out, and just being consistent, right? Like we do this now, like in our sleep, right? No matter what, if we're booking an appointment, we're literally doing every single one of these steps so that we can have a higher show rate. So now step 2, prepping, quoting. Okay, you got to be prepared, right? Like don't show up to an appointment freaking out. And I tell you all this from experience. I used to do it and I would not write an application. There is magic in mentally being prepared for an appointment. Okay.
Big.
If you've never used the carrier, if you've never used the application, you're never going to write an app. I promise you, because you're mentally not prepared and you're actually sending out little signals through the appointment to get a no. And I promise you, I used to do these things. This is why I know I would mess up. I'm like, man, I would never write, right? Like when I wanted, like, I'll give you an example. When I wanted to do advanced market, I wanted to do it, but I really didn't, Elijah, because I wouldn't prep for it. And I would never write anything. I'm like, this is useless.
Isn't that
right?
funny how that works?
But I wasn't prepped for it, right? So like for an appointment to go help with mortgage protection, you should know what application you're using. It should not be the first time you're logging into that application, right? So if you're doing Term 100, Eagle Premier, right, or whatever you're using, it should not be the first time you're logging into that puppy when you ran the appointment and they said, Ron, yeah, let's go ahead and do the one for 139. That should not be the first time, like, holy crap. I got to go in here, log in, let me see, right? Making sure you've prepped for the appointment. The way we teach y'all is book your appointments for tomorrow, right? Especially if you're a brand new agent, always book them for tomorrow, book them back to back. You want to have 4 to 6 appointments. And then that way it gives you the evening of today or tomorrow morning to prep for them with you and your upline. Okay. This is a team effort. That what I love to tell my organization, Elijah, is you should be running appointments as good as me because you have access to me.
Right.
You should be really close to the same close ratio as me because I'm helping you prep for them. Right.
So for the for newer people out there, like when we first got started, the way Joe and I would prep is we had virtual mentor at that point. I think that was the only thing we had. That and the insurance carrier quoters. And so we had to figure a lot of this out. But you would call Mark and kind of explain, hey, this is my client's situation. What carrier do you suggest? And I would do the same thing with Grant and with Chris. And it only takes a couple times of doing that before you get this process down. Because like prepping now, if I book an appointment, I'm pretty much prepped in about 3 minutes. Like it doesn't take that long. But when you're brand new, there's different carriers or products. And I mean, the fear that I had is like, I don't want to pick the wrong one for the client. Can anybody agree to that? Like, and so I want to emphasize just like keeping it simple. The core carriers that we all suggest are Americo, Mutual of Omaha, and American Amicable. Would you agree, James? And anything other than that you would suggest for somebody just getting going in their first 90 days?
Stick to those, man.
Stick to those. They're the best price, easiest to write. They're going to issue quick, easy to deal with. You want to use them. You can get the underwriting guides from the carriers, which basically give you the medical history, and you can know if they're going to get approved. You can use virtual mentor. You can call the carrier, get a risk assessment, do all of it to prep.
Love it. And then, so once you've got your options together, right? Again, what I love to have our agents do is snap a picture of it and then send it to me, right? They show me exactly where you're going to show the client, right? So they show me, hey, we're going to show these 2 accidentals. We're going to show the mortgage protection, and this is the price for them. And it's a right blank year term or whatever it may be, or it's right 10 months worth of mortgage payments, a year's worth of mortgage payments. However, show me exactly what you're going to show your client. There is nothing better, right? Most of the time it's, yep, that looks great. Or sometimes it's like, hey, you know what? They look a little high in prices. Why don't you just lower the face amount a little bit? But again, right, I love what you said. Why are you letting yourself feel fear of, hey, how do I know I'm showing the right options when there's so many of us that want to help you? Right? Like, don't do this by yourself. Show your options. We still do it right now, right? Like we were prepping for this call and Elijah's like, hey, this is the client I have. You know, what do y'all think about this product? This is one I should. Sounds great. That's what I would use. And it's like, perfect. And there's nothing like when your upline says, yes, that looks great. When you go into the appointment again, it's mental. Now you have so much, you feel so good about, hey, this, I'm showing them the right thing. And you're saying so many, right now you're sending off signals, right? Earlier I said you send bad signals, right? Because you're scared because you don't know if you're doing the right thing. If you're prepped properly, you're also sending out positive signals that you know this is the best thing for the client. And all of a sudden you're writing apps, right? And one more thing on the prepping and quoting, right, is again, you can log in. Once you've decided what application, you can log into all the carriers, whatever app you're going to use, and you can literally go through the whole thing, right? That way you know exactly what questions you're going to need to ask, exactly when the bank information is, and you can walk through the entire application. Most of them, right, just don't hit send at the end, right? Don't submit the application. But you can enter all kinds of fake information and go through the entire process so that you know what signatures are going to look like, you know what they're going to see, right? You walk through the whole thing, do not practice on the client, and you're going to feel a lot more confident on that. So that was 2, right? Step 2 is prepping, quoting, and making sure you get with your upline. James?
Real quick, Joe, just, I would say have it open and ready available to the quote, like to the application already. 'Cause remember, you're bringing it, you're manifesting, hey, I'm gonna write apps, I'm ready to go. Last thing you want to get is a yes, and then you can't log in, you forget your login, something happens. Believe me, because I know, because
Yeah.
you're not ready. You're ready to take the apps, have it logged in, ready to go.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Just to add like further clarity and and keep it simple. Like when I'm running an appointment, I have like 3 things open on my computer just to keep it organized and simple. I got the mortgage protection PowerPoint, which we'll go over in a little bit. I have the carrier's website where I'm submitting an e-application. If it's Americo, it's Agent Tools. And then I've got a 3rd tab open with the quotes in case I need to make an adjustment. That's pretty much it. Or and virtual mentor if you need to do that too.
Love it. Love it. So that was step 2. Step 3, right? They actually show up to the Zoom appointment. You've got your confirmations, right? And they've now hopped on Zoom. Step 3 is building rapport. Okay. Building rapport. This is where I have a phrase here, Elijah. I know when I'm writing an app, when I build so good rapport that if I hear this statement, I promise you I'm writing an app, Elijah. It's super cool. They're like, oh, I'm sorry, Joe. We were supposed to be talking about insurance.
Yep.
And how do I get to that statement is basically, right, first they hop on Zoom. I welcome them. Thank you for hopping on. And I just go into the way I've always looked at rapport building is they should be my best friend. What do I know about my best friend? I know everything about my best friend, why they moved, what they did for work, what's their, you know, if they have pets, what are their pets' names? If they have kids, what are their kids' names? How old, what they used to do for work, why they moved, right? Everything, right? Like how much information can I get and write this number down? You should never have to do more than 10 minutes of rapport.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a
right?
lot.
And in 10 minutes of rapport, you should have at least asked a good 7 to 10 questions.
I
And
think,
then,
sorry to interrupt you, Joe.
Yeah,
Go
go.
ahead.
no,
I was
I'm
just
going to say, well, here, I think this will tie in. On the 7 to 10 questions, you're going to have resistance and you have to dig into it for them to start talking. And Elijah, I bet you'll tie this into what you're about to say, which is on the rapport building, the first questions are so dry and they don't talk. And James, me and you have role played this, right? So let's kind of do it, right? So the first questions sound like this. Hey, James, thanks for hopping on. So I know this is a new house from you. So where are you originally from?
Texas.
Dry. One word answer, right? Okay, well, what part of Texas, James? Question number 2.
San Antonio.
Still dry. Okay, San Antonio, cool. I know a couple people from San Antonio. So what brought you over here to Arizona?
family.
Okay, cool. What part of your family came over here, or was it you first or them first?
Them first. My brother moved first, and then
Now
my
he's
parents
talking.
retired and moved.
Okay, sweet. I kind of did the same thing, James, right? I moved first, and then my sister moved first, and now my parents live here. But now it's super cool. Now I don't have to go back so often, and now I have most of my family here. But now I love it, right? Because now this is home, and it's amazing how 19 years passed, right? Is that pretty much the same thing that happened to you?
Yeah, just when COVID hit, just kind of, if anything happens, I'd rather be closer to
Right.
family, so I started moving.
Sweet. And so what was the original reason you moved over?
I was going through a transition, switching jobs, and then just wanted to be closer to family. I mean, get that balance. So, got tired of just, talking to my family once or twice a
I'm not
year.
even talking anymore. He keeps going, right? And then here, the magic of number 7. That's super cool. So what's your favorite part now where you live here?
It's a little small town called Bullhead City, and I like just everything close by, 5 minutes. I don't have to drive 5 minutes away from everything. No traffic. So coming from somewhere where I used to drive over 40 minutes to and from work, or if not more during traffic hours, like
See, and
time
now we're
saver.
and now we're digging into like it's 3 or 4 or 5 minutes of rapport, and I'm talking less. He's talking more, and I'm telling you, it's usually by 6 or 7 questions, and it's just very uncomfortable. Those first 3 are so weird, Elijah, right? Like it's like, well, where are you from? Texas.
Yep. Bro, that's gold. That is freaking gold.
That's
Because
exactly what I go through every single appointment.
It's
That's
so
so
uncomfortable. And what we do, Elijah, and give us something on this part. When we were brand new, we would stop and then we'd go into script right there, right? Because it got very uncomfortable on question 2 or 3. We're like, oh, they're weird. They're not talking to me, right? We shut down. We shut down because it's uncomfortable, right? What can you give us right of now? That doesn't bother you, or it still bothers us, right? It's very uncomfortable. I mean,
yeah. I think like what we have to understand about rapport is it's the first step in making a sale. What we do is sales. Sales is communication. And our job is to communicate with a complete stranger and build enough trust and rapport with them that they become a friend and then a client. You know what I mean? And so what you're doing, Joe, like when we get somebody on Zoom, there's a wall up. They don't know you. We haven't established a connection. We haven't gone into the role and purpose, all that. Rapport is getting through that wall or getting over that wall or just removing it altogether because you started with a couple scripted questions. Where are you from? Why'd you move? How long you been there? And then it became organic because James just started talking. And so like we don't have a script for building rapport, is the point I'm trying to make. You need to find what works well for you to the point where you're asking a couple questions that help you get to know the person you're talking to and get them to like you enough to where, all right, now we can talk about my role and purpose and what we're doing. And 5 to 10 minutes is key. If you're building rapport for like a minute, 2 minutes, you're gonna run into sales resistance further in your presentation. I think Michael, you had a question. Your hand's raised on the Zoom, buddy. What you got?
Thanks very much, Elijah. So I wanted to go back to something that just before this segment started, if you are getting, so you talked about tying down the appointment, Joe, and things like that. But I've had a number of no-shows in a row, even though I've tied down the appointment. I've confirmed that, they know it's going to be a Zoom call. I've verified the email. I've said, now what time was that? Was that 4:30 or 5:30? And they've confirmed that. And I'm still getting no-shows. What is, I know it's something I'm doing because I think I'm building rapport with them in the appointment, but they're no-showing. So where do I go back to look to see what I need to tweak there?
well,
Are you
before we diagnose anything, right? This is the rule of thumb, because we use words like a lot of no-shows. This happens all the time, right? Which are, so how many no-shows in a row,
9
right?
a good amount?
How spread out,
over a week.
right?
Okay.
So you don't have a no-show problem. you have a 6 appointments for tomorrow problem. Right? Because if I have 2 appointments tomorrow, I have a 50% show rate or 40%. I actually have a 30 to 40% show rate. So if I have 2 appointments for tomorrow, the likelihood of both of those or any of those appointments show up is 0. Right? Because I got to have 6 appointments for 3 of them to maybe show up. Right? So I dialed live Wednesday. No, what are we on? I'm so lost. Tuesday, I dialed live and booked 12 appointments for yesterday. And I think some of the folks that were in the room with me, I'm like, look, I have 12 booked appointments. That means there are 2 segments of 6. More than likely, I'm going to write 4 applications. I wrote 3 applications yesterday. You don't have a no-show problem. You have a 6 appointments for tomorrow problem.
Thank you.
Right?
That's great.
The thing that, right, we sometimes get lost in our numbers, right? And we're like, hey, I have a lot of no-shows. Hey, no, you don't. You're not following the system as much as we think we are, right? 200 dials, book 6 appointments for tomorrow. If you keep it that simple, I promise, because here's what's going to happen. You have 6 appointments for tomorrow, Michael, that someone's going to show up, at least 1 or 2, right? So yesterday I had 12 booked appointments. I only ran 5.
Yeah. No, it's
Right?
brilliant, Joe. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you very much.
So
That's
to
awesome.
think about it, right? So I had 7, there was like 7 no-shows in there.
Mhm.
Right? Me and you are identical. I just condensed your week and a half into 1 day.
Right.
Right? You don't have a no-show problem. You have a 6 appointments for tomorrow problem.
Got it.
Looks like,
Thank
well,
you.
it says Brian. I don't know if it's, or Brent, I'm sorry.
Hey, thanks. On the build rapport phase, I'm feeling my own internal prickliness coming up. Like, I see what you're doing here and I don't like wasting my time. And like, I just feel my own prickliness and resistance coming up, like, bugger off. So how do you, and I feel like that's just a natural thing that humans are doing. And I don't want to be manipulated and I don't want to manipulate. So I'm just curious how you guys are real and get through that.
In the restaurant business, I learned something. Everybody write this down. It's called the gift of gab. If you don't know what the gift of gab is, go research it, study on it. So what the gift of gab is this is super important for bartenders. And why it's so important for a bartender and from a server is because the server got to build rapport, have a conversation, Elijah, and then they got to walk away. Didn't matter how rude or how weird that client was, right? They got to walk away from the table. The bartender has the worst position ever because they have to stand in front of these folks no matter what. So what we did is we taught them to learn what the gift of gab was. And the gift of gab is just simply having the ability to have almost any conversation on any subject. So it actually takes work. So we would actually train our bartenders, make sure you watch a little bit of the news. Make sure you watch a little bit about a little bit about the town that we're in, right? You know a little bit about what's going on in the school district, what's going on here, there, right? Like whatever it may be. The gift of gab, that's how you build natural rapport because you get to find a topic that they're interested in. And then the really cool part about Zoom is if you look at their background, you become really strong, right? Like if I start looking at David's background, I love his, right? Because I can instantly go, right? Like, hey, looks like, what basketball team is that? I don't even know anything about it, but I know that's a jersey, right? What basketball team is that? Right. And then look, right. If I look at Ron, like, okay, right. Like, I'll be like, oh, so it looks like you're in, is this your living room? Right? Like, what do you got going on in there? Like learning the gift of gab is just the simple ability to build rapport and have conversation about anything, right? April, looks like you're at work. Where do you work at? Right? It looks like, hey, Karen, oh, I see. I love that bookshelf. What kind of book? What are your favorite books to read? Right? And the gift of gab is finding what they're interested in and what'll spark, right? Because here's the thing. I like things, Bryn, that you probably don't like, right? But it ain't about me, it's about you, right? So I'll be like, oh man, I love that hat. That's my favorite color. What does it say on there?
Yeah, it feels very genuine. Doesn't feel manipulative. Thank you.
And
Right.
I'll
So
chime in here.
gift of
real
gab.
quick.
Elijah, dig into that.
I do that. I just didn't have a name for it. So I'm stealing that.
It's called,
But-
it's a real thing. It's called the gift of gabs. It actually tells you a couple of little points of, hey, you should know about the weather. You should know about this. So like, even if you're working different states, You might want to look at the weather in those different states, right? I always use that a lot, right? Because if I work New Mexico or Vegas, I know what their weather's like. If I was working Washington, I knew if it was raining, if it had been raining for 2 or 3 days. So I get to say like, hey man, I saw there was some flooding going on over there, right? Like how's that going right now? And then it's like, ooh, they're talking, right? Because I didn't make it about me, and it's not generic. It's actually real-time news or stuff that's going on.
And you have the posture, Joe, and James, I'm sure you do too when you run your appointments, when you're building rapport, like the goal is to help the family. And there may be some, like, I love the word you use, prickliness, because sometimes people think you're trying to sell them something that they don't need. And we're not doing that for a few reasons. One, the only reason I'm talking to you right now, and the only reason, is because you submitted a request about mortgage protection. You answered the phone about said mortgage protection. You agreed to an appointment and you showed up to that appointment. I ain't trying to manipulate you at all. You're here and we're talking because you need something, and my main goal is to help you get it. And it's going to be a much more organic and friendly conversation if that foundation of rapport is laid first.
Right. And then let's end rapport so we can go through the rest of
Yeah,
them.
let's
The
get it.
last thing I'll give y'all with rapport is make a deposit before you make a withdrawal. They should know everything about you that you're asking of them, right? So like when I was doing the report little thing with James, right? It was like, hey, I used to live blank and I moved here. What did you do? Hey, I used to work here. What did you used to work in, right? I am given a deposit before I'm making a withdrawal. So they don't feel like I'm just grabbing information, right? It's a two-way street. I actually become their friend. When I'm finished with my appointment, they know I got 4 kids. They know I got two kids that are the same age. They know we like kayaking. They know I have a little off-road vehicle. They know I used to work in the restaurant business. They know me and my wife were separated and got back together. They literally know everything about me in the same exchange. And that's how come I know so much about them. So the next one is going to be number 4, right? And it's going to be the role and purpose. This one,
The other.
the other role and purpose. Why do I say the other role and purpose, not the role and purpose that's in the real script? Because this is right before the real script. Okay, so I've built rapport, and then I'm going to go into my role and purpose. And this is where you don't kidnap your client. You're going to tell them exactly what's about to happen. They now trust me because we became friends, and we'll post this in Band, but I'm going to give it to you really quick. We don't have to dig into this a lot. I'm just telling you, this is how you set up your client that to know that we're taking applications today. So Elijah, yeah, I love it, man. That was a really cool dog that you have there. But I want to make sure, right, I'm respectful of your time. So let me go over and I literally say this, let me go over my role and purpose, Elijah. My role and purpose today is to simply find you the most amount of coverage for the least amount of premium. The way I get to do that is I work with all the insurance carriers, so I shop around for you. I did that overnight. What we're going to do today in our appointment is I'm going to go over your health conditions if we do have any. I'll go over your budget, not to be nosy, just to see if it's something you even need. If we do find a need, I'll show you a couple of options that other families do, not what Joe recommends, what other families do. And if you like any of those options, you'll be able to pick several of those options. And my job is to simply fill out the application online. It'll normally give me an instant decision. If it doesn't, it takes a day or 2 to give me a decision. But once it's approved, they're going to draft out of your account, Elijah, and you'll be protected as of today. Does that sound good?
Sounds great.
Everyone says yes if you have the posture to do it that way. I promise you. And we'll post this on Band as well, right? But your role and purpose is, this is where you're telling them you're filling out an application and not just showing them options, right? Because if you run through the appointment and you show options, and then you're like, all right, pick one. I want y'all to remember this respectfully on the client's end. You never told them you were writing an application today. All you did was you told them you were going to run an appointment and show them some options. So on all fairness, they're going to think about it. Because nowhere before that, we called them. We told them we're going to book an appointment. We're going to told them we're going to, takes me 15 to 10 minutes to show them options. We built rapport. We went through the thing. We never told them we were taking applications. You got to remember, in all fairness, you're kidnapping your client because you never told them you were writing an application today and trying to get it approved. If you don't do your role and purpose and you're getting a lot of think about it, that's why. So that's number 4, role and purpose. Do not miss it. And it's the other role and purpose. It is not the one inside the real script. The one inside the real script simply starts breaking down a little more detail of what you're doing inside the appointment. But the role and purpose, right? I like to, James, thanks for reminding, right? The other role and purpose, because it's separate from the real script. It's where you're telling them what's about to happen. So that's number 4. Number 5 is we start the real script. And Elijah, you wanted to hit on, right, the like your main purpose of when you start the real script is hitting on the why.
Yeah, I think insurance is a logical, actually, it's an emotional solution to a logical problem. And the way that we can get people from I'm just looking to this is the one that I need is by asking a few key questions that build emotion to make this decision like a no-brainer. And so like if I was having a conversation with somebody, actually I'll just use an appointment from yesterday. I ran an appointment on a dude, and there's really just a few questions that I think you have to ask. If you don't ask them, you're going to get, I need to think about it, or I don't think I need this, or why are I already have life insurance. Like you're going to just get objections that are so easy to avoid. I actually have a note saved that I reference in every appointment. But some of the questions I'll ask them is like, hey, what was your goal for this appointment today? The reason I'm asking is I want to keep your goal the main thing. Another one is, how long have you been thinking about getting, actually, I'll get that one in a second. I'll ask him, what was it you were looking for? Like, why did you submit that postcard, or what was your main concern? Because that's a really open-ended question that will get them talking. Well, I want to make sure my kids have a place to stay, or if I'm gone and my income's gone, I don't want my family to lose the house, or they'll say something like that. They're not going to say something like, well, I just need prices. Well, we don't even know if you need it yet, James. The goal of this appointment is to figure out if it's something you need, and then we can go through it. But how long have you been thinking about getting this coverage? That's another really good question to ask. What do we have I learned this one at conference. What do we have in place currently to protect your family financially if something were to happen? Because then we're already addressing an objection before it comes up. We're asking them about their existing life insurance. Is it through work? How much do you have? Is it a policy outside of work? What's the name of the carrier? How long ago did you get it? What are you paying? Just by asking that question alone, Joe, I can't tell you how many Globe Life and Colonial Penn policies I've replaced, brother. Like, uncover those, because you can, sometimes people are like, yeah, man, I've got 500 grand. I'm paying $30 a month. I'm like, did you know that was an accidental policy? And people don't even know what they have half the time. So like asking that is super crucial.
And I just want to add on that question. I love, you need to uncover insurance, right? I've said this before, right? If I sell baseball cards and I walk into Michael Mushlin's house, right, and he has nothing in his house of baseball or sports, the likelihood of me selling him some baseball cards are very, very slim. But if I walk into his house and I see, right, the baseball sign, the baseball bats and his team, guess what I'm selling today? Right. And it's the exact, I think we're scared, right? We're scared to, oh man, they have life insurance. You want them to have life insurance. If they have insurance, they believe in insurance.
Yeah.
So like the likelihood of them getting multiple, let me tell you, somebody that has something, they never have one of it. Right? You're just giving them more of what they already like. So
I tell them this, I'll let them know and say, hey, I want to make sure I'm not showing you something you don't need. And some of the people I talk to end up needing a lot less coverage than they think they do. But just to make sure, about how much coverage would you say you have right now? Oh, I got 250. Okay. Are you sure you have 250? And I'll get some of the info about it, because if they've got, say, a $500,000 house, all right, well, what did you get that policy for? Was that to replace your income if something were to happen, or take care of funeral expenses, and because it's not quite enough to pay off the home. Like, what did you get that policy for? And I'll let them know that's a great segue into going into breaking down mortgage protection, which we'll do in step
Right.
6.
So let's do that, right? So 5 is you start the real script, making sure you're pulling out their why. Step 6 is what is mortgage protection? James, you want to hit on that? And let's try to go quick so we have enough time for the last 3.
Yeah, it's really just the first part of the real script, up to the role and or up to the, I guess, the role and purpose part afterwards. It's really just explaining what mortgage protection is. They know it's similar to a life insurance policy. So make sure you read that. If you don't know it by heart, then just read it off there. It's really good information. And I like to use this, especially if they're 90% of the people we're talking to, this is their first time buying a house, or they've never looked into mortgage protection. So explaining what it is, how it works, what it does. A little keynote that I like to use, I like to use them, if they don't have a life insurance policy, or if they do, I let them know, hey, this is, you could use it, as a mortgage protection. You can use it as a life insurance policy too. So as you're paying off the mortgage, it's becoming a life insurance policy. So instead of having multiple policies, it's 2-in-1, bundling up, basically save you some money as well.
Right. And on that part, right, I use my hands, right? I do the Jeremy Minor here, Elijah. I go, look, in mortgage protection, right, we're going to cover the full house, right? And the cool thing is this is like knocking out 2 birds with 1 stone, because it also starts becoming life insurance, because I've already asked them about life insurance, and I get to say, since you only have the one from work, this is also going to put something in place permanently to protect you and your family. So as your mortgage is coming down, we start to fill the gap of life insurance over the years. And they're like, oh, so I get to do 2 things with 1. And man, I love that part, because again, we're not trying to lie to anyone. This is a life insurance, right, policy that families take out to pay off the mortgage, right? The way the families get to use it is sometimes they pay off the full thing, sometimes it's half, sometimes it's just making sure, right, that whoever we're leaving to, they can make the mortgage payments for it and they don't lose it. But again, it stays wherever we started at. And as the years go by, we're going to start filling gaps on life insurance. And they're like, sweet, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, you're building value is what you're doing.
So let's go into showing options, right? So that's mortgage protection, explaining what it is. That was number 6. Number 7 is showing options. And let's go quick, right? Elijah, you want to share your screen for us, how you like to use, show your options on your slides?
Doing it now. Let me put this thing in slideshow mode. Can y'all see this?
Yep.
All right, 6. So let's say I'm talking to somebody 47 years old, non-smoker, perfect health. We're focusing on the full mortgage payoff or the partial. This is essentially what I look at. This was quoted with Americo, Term 100. This was on a lady who, I think she might have been like 51 or 52. I don't remember. But she picked the most expensive one, which was $450,000. What I did, Joe, is what you guys just explained. I showed her an option that had enough coverage to pay off her house and extra as life insurance. The full mortgage payoff for home was $400,000. So I showed her, hey, if you just want to cover your home, we could do that one's $221, and then the partial payoff. If you're talking to somebody older, like you're showing critical period, equity protection, I like to describe it as mortgage payment protection. Older people understand it better. I get less objections using this phrasing. But let's say you're talking to somebody who, how many of y'all have gotten a lead that was 73 years old, has a $300,000 house? When you get them on the phone, they're diabetic, had a heart attack 4 years ago, and they're paying $2,800 a month. You're going to get a ton. You're not selling someone like that one of these. You're showing them this one. And so I like to keep it as simple as possible. So you have to get their mortgage payment. You do this when you book the appointment. After you get health info, if you see their age and you realize, I'm dealing with somebody who's probably retired, I always ask the monthly mortgage payment so that you can prep. That goes back to step 2. And so the way I explain it to them is I'll show them, hey, this option pays your mortgage for your family after you're gone for 2 years. If we go with that one, it's $136 a month. If you don't feel like your kids need that much time, maybe they're going to sell the home or what have you. If we did 18 months, it's $102. And then if we did a year, that one's $69. I let them know that the policy never expires because we use a whole life policy for these. The price never changes. Your coverage is locked in when you're approved. And if we need to make changes to it, we can adjust this over time as long as you're not 85 years old.
And James, show yours, right? And so this one was a little bit over 70. When they're 70 or below, we teach y'all to always add accidental with Mutual of Omaha. You're writing for your ideal coverage in a home. If you have a husband and wife, is 4 applications. They each get an accidental and they each get the mortgage protection. James?
You ever see this?
You got it.
Yep, so the top ones, I show them 2 accidentals for both the husband and wife, and then I show 3 options for the mortgage protection. So usually it'll be the full mortgage payout, of course, the top one, and then I use partial and half. And then I let them know, hey, if this mortgage one is not it, 90% of them, if they don't do that full mortgage, I like them, hey, add one of the top accidentals with one of these 2 top one of the bottom ones on there to get the full mortgage. So.
Right. And that's how y'all see, right? When we're posting in band 4 apps for 2,300 or 3,200, it's because they're picking 4 applications.
Good.
It solidifies the sale so much. So that's how we show our options. That's number 7. Number 8, right? So we've shown them these options, right? So like critical period, I love this one, right? Somebody older. Hey, James, right? So you can do the year's worth of mortgage payoff. And then if you do the accidental for 200,000, we're going to pay off the entire house just like you wanted to. If not, no matter what, we have a year's worth of coverage for Cynthia. Which one do y'all think is best going to fit y'all's need? Quiet. And I want to help y'all identify a yes, because I think too many times we kill our own selves. So if they say something like, they won't say yes, but they'll say something like, we can probably do the 6 months and the 100 accident. That's a yes, right? You don't have to ask, explain. If they say we can probably do, or that one looks good, or I like the 9 months, right? Or let's just do the full year. Let's just do the full, that's a yes. Do not say, well, yeah, so the full year again, right? It's going to be 140. Nope. If I hear, yeah, let's just do the full, the 1 year. Perfect. So Cynthia, I'm going to start with you first, right? And I'm going to check the spelling on your name, and I'm writing the application. Do not wait for the words yes. They are going to say yes in so many different ways. They're going to say, we can probably do, that looks good, we can afford this. In some appointments, you're going to say, they're going to give you, yeah, let's do the 1 year, the 200,000 for both of us. Let's go ahead and do that. But that is very rare. Most of the time, it's going to sound like, I think we can do this. We can probably, that looks good. I think we can afford this, or that'll be comfortable. So just listen to stuff like that. Just write the app. I can't say that enough. Write the app. There's no need to explain, right? You don't have to reconfirm. You're going to kill yourself. Okay. It's just, I think Val does it, right? What's your middle initial? Right? Just start writing that puppy. They've already said yes. And then the last thing is locking it down in ASR. James, Elijah, y'all want to do those?
You go first, James.
Oh, just locking it down. So afterwards, you wrote the applications. I like to let them know just, hey, just so we clear about, I let them know what we just got in place. Hey, so we understand that it's, the 200,000 for the $93 there. You understand that it'll pay off whatever, so you go over everything. So I go over locking it down of what they got in place. And then I let them know, hey, any other postcards you have. So I secure my cell there as well. So you got any more postcards in the mail, just go ahead and toss them. If you receive any more, if you get any more phone calls from anybody else, just let them know you're well taken care of, that James took care of you. Let them know James Martinez, you're working with them. You're all good set. If they don't know who I am, you definitely shouldn't be talking to them. I don't know where I picked that up, but I got that one.
That's good. I do the same thing. I just let them know what's going to happen. I'll say, hey, I should hear back from an underwriter. If I don't get an instant decision, right? Like if we get an instant decision, I'm giving them their policy number and all that jazz. If it's pending or whatever, like if you write it with AmAm or Moose, sometimes it takes a couple of days. I say, look, James, I'm gonna give you a call back when you guys are approved and just let you know. Sometimes carriers have additional questions, but shouldn't be more than 2 or 3 days. And then they're gonna mail that policy out to you. And do me a favor, when you get it, just give me a call. That way we can review it and make sure everything looks good. And then just such a simple question to get referrals. Look, ask and you shall receive. If you don't ask for any referrals, it's rare that somebody's gonna call you out the blue and give you one unless you ran a fantastic appointment and they're best friends with you. Like, you got to ask. And so the simplest question you could ask is, hey, is there anybody else in your family that would benefit from a conversation like this? Or do your kids have coverage? Does your mom have coverage? Like, stuff like that. This week I wrote 2 policies off of it was the spouse and the child of a client from a month ago. We covered the rest of the household at that point. And I did get one guy who reached out to me or texted me a referral, but it was also a family member. I'm helping his aunt with coverage. And so covering the family is the easiest referrals. It's like low-hanging fruit, but you got to ask.
Love it. I love it. And there's a lot of questions on the presentation. They are the same so they don't have special presentations. It's the one in HQ, right? You can modify it and just put the way you want to show it. So just go into HQ under training, telesales all the way down to the bottom. It says mortgage protection presentation. If you need help finding it, get with your upline. And then again, right, 9 steps. I hope this helps you a lot. Just kind of check the boxes, right? Are you doing all 9 of these things through the process of helping a family? I promise you, you will help more families. And then if any of them helped you today, and in the next couple of days, if y'all can post that in band, we'd really appreciate it. And that's it. Thank y'all for hopping on.
See ya.